So just what were those Russian troops doing, falling and swinging and doing all these types of high-tech special forces types of moves doing? Well, I'm glad you asked. And I'll get into that after I talk about everything so far that is known about the man who killed Russia's Lieutenant General. I'm not going to pronounce his name. I'll pronounce it in a minute. I'm going to have to look at it again because it is a tough, tough name to say for an American. But anyways, before I get into that, I just want to say I hope everybody's having a good night and the weekend's coming up, so that is awesome. But now let's jump into this. Okay, so the person who ended up getting arrested for the assassination on Russia's lieutenant general is 29-year-old Akhmad Tabanov. I probably butchered that really bad, but that's probably as close as I'm going to get to it. So just go with that. I swear these names are so complicated. I always wonder, are our names as complicated for them to say, you think, as it is for us to say theirs? Because theirs are like some tongue twisters. Anyways, so this is the man that the Russians happen to already, and that's one more other thing real quick. How is it they're always, do you guys remember the attacks that happened at the earlier in the year, and Russia was able to round those dudes up real quick. Those dudes from Dagestan, or they were affiliated with I believe it was ISIS or something. Anyways, it seems that Russia's special service or secret service, sorry, is super on their shit because they round these dudes up super fast, and this dude was no exception because they got this dude like that. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So I'm sure most of you guys have heard that just the other day, this guy, when Ukraine is already obviously taking credit for the fact that they were able to, they bribed this dude. He wanted $100,000 and a passport and safe passage to, I believe, some European country. And it seems like 2 seconds later, somehow he was able to get caught. How can these dudes just not, stay under the radar and just get out of there? I'm not sure how it was filmed. If this was I think it was in somebody's car that actually was. They got this on film, and it might be on the screen now. I'm going to be playing some of the video from some of the footage that was gathered. Okay, so who was this general, and why did Ukraine want to take him out so bad? This general, his name was Igor Kirillov. He was in charge of the. Let me just make sure I got it correct. Russia's nuclear, biological, and chemical defense forces. So basically, he was a dirtbag. And the reason why I say that is because it was it was speculation at first, and people were denying it. Of course, Russia was denying it, and then the evidence of all the chemical munitions that Russia was using on Ukraine, all the gas. I mean, just horrific. Chlorine, I believe, was another one. Just well, this guy was in charge of all that shit, so he's a dirtbag. And Ukraine had just the day before he was taken out, the day before this guy was taken out, Ukraine had put out warrants for this guy. I highly doubt that they were ever going to be, um, you know, enforced. They were never going to get their hands on this guy, and I'm pretty sure Ukraine knew that. So they went to the next best thing, and that was bribing some guy to take his ass out. And that they did spectacularly, if you ask me. I mean, the way they took this guy out was genius. Who would think, your everyday scooter that's just, chained up to your fucking light pole outside is going to be strapped with TNT and explosives? Well, that's exactly how they took him out. That was just next level genius. That reminded me of how Israel a while back, a few months ago, were able to infiltrate all of the pagers that Hezbollah would use. I mean, we're not talking a few, hundreds of them, if I'm not mistaken, possibly even thousands. I don't remember the number, but that is like on that level of genius right there. I mean, who would have thunk of that? Ukraine's special services, Budanov, that guy's a badass dude. Um, so that was pretty cool. And everybody's waiting to see what the repercussions are going to be. Like, what is Russia going to do in response? There was a interview of Keith Kellogg, which is Trump's new envoy to the Russia-Ukraine conflict issue. And to be honest, I didn't really like this guy's response, or what he had to say when it comes to Ukraine taking out this general of Russia's. He didn't agree with it. He didn't like it. He thought that Ukraine overstepped their bounds, and not once did he acknowledge. I mean, not that he, of course, he knows, but it would have been nice to for him to acknowledge. Well, maybe they did it because they clearly don't give two f's about you know laws in war. I mean, they do horrific things and commit war crimes on a daily basis in Ukraine on Ukraine civilians, um, shooting unarmed soldiers that are surrendering. And so, I mean, this is you ever heard the saying, "An eye for an eye"? That falls into this category. The only difference is that Ukraine was able to actually pull this off. Putin and them have tried to do such a type of assassination attempt on Zelensky. If some of you guys remember earlier in the year, but they were able to figure out who was doing it, and they arrested those traitors. Man, those guys were pieces of dirt, but they were close and they were high up in the military. So Ukraine was actually able to pull this one off, and it just goes to show how high level their secret service is, and that's such a great thing for their military. They are clearly no one to mess around with. They are amongst the most lethal militaries in the planet, and that's a pretty badass thing. And they should be very, very proud of themselves. Russia's not pushing them around like everybody thought that they were gonna be doing. And I guess that's all I'll say about this subject. Now let me get to Russia's new training on how to dodge FPV drones on the battlefield. So, is this training real? Are they seriously training like this to try and be able to dodge FPV drones on the battlefield? Or are they trolling the world by making videos to joke around? Honestly, I don't know, but I suspect that they are serious, which makes this even that much more funny because if you've seen these drones, they haul ass. I mean, like, haul ass. I own a few drones myself. Definitely not the speed of these drones, but I mean, there's very little to counter these drones or dodge them, especially if you're in open fields like a bunch of these North Koreans have been in. If they miss you once, they'll just come right back around and get you. So I don't know if this is like a type of training that they've been introducing along the entire Russian military. If it is, it's hilarious, and I can't wait to see the videos that come out showing these moves. Um, I honestly don't know what made them think of, you know, doing this type of training, like swinging it on a rope instead of actually just getting the drone and chasing them without, any explosives on it. That seems a little more practical. Um, being that that would be a lot more what they're actually dealing with out there. Um, so who knows? Maybe they are trolling everybody with this training of theirs. But I do know that their life expectancy out there on the battlefield, regardless whether it be from artillery, drones mainly. Isn't it crazy how much drones have just completely reshaped the way battles are fought these days? I mean, it's crazy the way they're implementing it in Syria. It is the norm in the Russia-Ukraine war out there. Um, and it's just revolutionizing. I mean, the way war is fought these days is crazy. But I guess we'll find out. Maybe there'll be more videos to see if they got any extra tactics that they're using. To me, they are absolutely hilarious. Um, I hope they come out saying that they're joking, but knowing how how unprofessional the Russian army seems to be in the majority of them. I'm not going to say all of them because of course they do have some high level soldiers. Spetsnaz uh specifically, they're paratroopers. They go through a lot of high level training. As for these guys that have just had maybe a few days of training, I would assume, and they're the. Can you imagine? Sorry, one more thing, but could you imagine in the U.S. military? I have a brother that's in the Navy. I have an uncle that's retired Air Force. My grandfather was in the Navy right around, I think, the Korean War. But I know their level of training and everything was, you know, way better than anything that they are doing out there in Russia. But what I was getting to was the age of a lot of these Russian soldiers, 55 years old, 65 years old. I mean, I've seen some super old. I mean, that's like my grandfather out there. I could not fathom seeing my grandfather out there on these battlefields, you know, going to war and stuff. These poor men should be at home, retired and stuff. But I mean, just the absolute selfishness and um, I don't know. It's just sad of everything that Putin has put his country through. I'm sure there's some good people there. I haven't really seen too many of them that come out of the woodworks, but I'm sure there's got to be a few there. And it's really sad that Putin has done all of these horrific things, and it seems to mostly, I mean, he hasn't accomplished his goals. Um, and if his goals were to take out a huge majority of his, not majority, a huge amount of his population and cripple his country's economy and, you know, just deplete all their resources, then if those were his goals, then I guess he's accomplished it. But from the looks of it, he has just ran his own country into the ground, made his country a pariah state. I mean, nobody could stand Russians no more unless you're a North Korean, Chinese maybe, and I'm sure they even have internal conflicts. But anyways, that is gonna do it for me. I hope everybody has a great night. The weekend's coming up. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Hopefully, I'll be able to make another video here in the next few days or so. And yeah, I guess I'll see you. Oh, if you're not subscribed, I'd appreciate if you subscribed, or hit like or comment or all. That would be extra awesome. And catch you guys later. Peace.